Welcome to this edition of the Ultimate Journey of Self-Care. I'm so excited that you are here with me on this Tuesday morning. I'm Alison Katzkowski, your host. Today, I am excited to be chatting with another colleague who is a certified clinical hypnotherapist. She and I were able to connect online. She is also quite an innovator in the health and fitness and wellness space with her unique techniques and what she's doing within her business. And so I thought it would be really good to have a conversation with her around not just what self-care means to her in general, but how you can implement some of the basics of what she teaches into your own self-care routine. Today, I'm joined by Ruthie Renae. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me, Alison. I'm excited to be here. I love your podcast.
Of course. Thank you so much. So why don't you tell my audience a little bit about you first?
All right. Well, I have a long background in health and fitness. I've had my own struggles mentally, physically, try to push through it like iron horse to get the job done. And then quickly realized it was my mind that was holding me back to getting where I wanted to be. And that led me into the space of where now I work with the mind and help people overcome those mental obstacles that are the blocks of keeping them from getting their goals.
Yeah, because, really what we think on a day-to-day basis is really what drives the bus for all of us, for the decisions we make, to the actions we take, to the things that we do. It really does come down to that.
Yeah.
And I know there are a lot of people out there that talk about, I help you clear the mental blocks. I help you think more positively, and all that kind of stuff. So really, what makes what you do different?
Well, what I found with hypnotherapy versus some of the other models is that I actually don't do anything. I'm the guide that allows you to pull out of your own subconscious mind. You figure out the issues, you figure out the problem. We trace it back to the core sensitizing event sometimes and rewire the programming.
Okay.
So you.
Okay. So how did you get into doing what you do?
Oh my goodness, it's a funny story. All shortened, condensed version is I had some mega serious dental trauma. And when I had a breakdown in the dentist's office, hugging a pillow, crying for my mom, holding the dentist's hand, all discombobulated, I was so thoroughly embarrassed. And I knew where it came from even. I knew it was dental trauma from my childhood. I just couldn't seem to get over it. Like crying,
so
sobbing.
it kept coming back up, in other words.
Yeah. And I found Joe Dispenza's book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, and I implemented the meditations and I was better. I haven't tried
it worked for you
since. Yeah. And I thought, okay, I need to help my clients with this. And then I decided to just, after researching, hypnotherapy was the right fit for me. And of course I used tapping and NLP and a whole lot of other things, but that's just where it led.
Okay. So what do you find then in your day-to-day practice? Because you work with clients individually, right?
Yeah.
So what do you find in your day-to-day practice from a self-care perspective, since that's what we talk about on this show? Yeah. What do you find from a self-care perspective that is helpful in terms of like easy ways that you can easily implement some of the things that you teach?
Yeah, well, the biggest thing, easiest thing that people have a hard time taking the time for, self-care is all about investing that quality time in yourself so that you can have a better life for yourself and your family. Meditation, breath work, bringing the awareness. Awareness is always the first step. So bringing that awareness to within your breath and what am I thinking? What are these thoughts? You have these thoughts that explode, and sometimes you can mentally, cognitively go through and fix them. When you're finding that some zombies taking over your brain and you're lashing out and you're like, who was that? That's the key to show you, oh, there's some subconscious stuff going on. Why can't you make yourself get to the gym? Well, there's a subconscious block in there. So breath and meditation, definitely the base of getting yourself on track.
Okay. So let's just, before we sort of get into the nuts and bolts of what you do, let's talk about like from, obviously, since my background is in fitness, let's start there. For people who talk about wanting to start a fitness routine, or maybe they're trying to reboot their current routine. I mean, we're in springtime now, and so people are thinking about the summer because the weather's getting warmer. So it's an easy motivation factor there.
Right.
But what I talk with people a lot is this issue of motivation. It's hard to stay in it, is what I hear a lot of people say. And I mean, personally, motivation comes and goes. It's really, in my opinion, having an anchor, something you can anchor yourself to that will actually get you through the days that you don't really feel like doing it.
Yeah.
So using what you teach, what would you recommend to somebody who is, say, struggling with staying consistent, or somebody who maybe has a really bad week and can only get in, say, one workout, and they want to get in more. And so now they're telling themselves, see, I knew I couldn't do it. I knew I couldn't stick with it, that kind of thing.
Right.
What do you say to that?
I say drop the expectations, number one, of expecting motivation to get you there.
Yeah.
Really, with the self-care, it comes back to self-love. Do I love myself enough? Do I think I'm worth it to invest the time to get to the gym? Or if you can't get to the gym, I get on the floor with videos of however many people will do yoga, Pilates, or whatever.
Right.
Whatever it takes for you. But it starts with knowing that you're worth it.
Yeah. I think I can relate to that. And I know that a lot of my clients can relate to that. But I also think that there's a misconception out there that self-care is like the actual action steps that we take, like making sure that we're active, making sure that we're eating right, making sure that we're getting fresh air and sleep and managing stress, and like behaviors, in other words.
Yeah.
And a lot of self-care is behavior, but a lot of it is what's behind the behavior too. So I'd be curious to get your input from the perspective of what you do, as far as clearing that unconscious energy blockage, to use your word, that might be there.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I'm hearing you say is the action steps, all the self-care that most,
because that's what a lot of people think self-care is.
Right.
It's just, I just need to do something for myself today. I'm going to go get a mani and pedi. I'm going to go get a massage, and I'm going to hit the gym. And I've had my self-care for the day.
Yeah. And sometimes self-care is loving yourself enough to get out of bed in the morning, loving yourself to know that it's okay to have a bad day. So it's the why am I doing all these action steps, and tracing it back to really at the core. Why do I want to do this? Because I care about myself, and I want to be around for my children and grandchildren, and be able to enjoy life.
Connecting more to that inner belief. Right? That's what I'm hearing you say.
In the mind. Yes.
Okay. So what do you say to somebody who is really struggling with what that inner belief is? Maybe they're really doubting their ability to do it.
Yeah.
So I hear what you're saying in, loving yourself enough to do it, but to somebody who is a high achiever, or who really has had success maybe in the past, but maybe now is really kind of struggling to find their footing. I know I'm hearing that a lot now that we're coming out of the pandemic. Okay. There are people that are really trying to get out of some of the habits that they started while we were at home, and, we're told not to go anywhere and do anything. So I'd just be curious to get your input on that.
What I see is we experience burnout when we have the mentality of we're just going to do it, and we push and push and push, and then you have burnout, and there's like, oh, I give up. And instead, what if we could shift because it's all right, it's a mind. So shift your perspective of the why and how to get there, and the expectations are, what it looks like. Fitness and health at 60 is different than when you're 20. And are you measuring?
Absolutely agree with that.
Somebody else, but really you don't. What I think is the expectation of how I feel about myself, and I want to love myself, but at that side, I'm not worth it. And so you have that starting place where you're set up for failure, instead of having the expectations of, okay, well, I want to. That's a starting place, the baby steps. We hear affirmations all the time. You stand in the mirror and you say, I'm amazing, I love myself. And you're looking at yourself and you're saying, that's BS. So you should.
Yeah, because positive thinking really doesn't do it. I mean, it's so
Not all the
simple
time.
and easy to think, well, just think positively.
Yeah.
But that really doesn't move the needle to helping us change anything for
No.
us. It's a great concept.
And
And
you
we should
see it.
absolutely think thoughts that make us feel good, but it goes way past that.
Absolutely. When you find yourself constantly thinking damaging thoughts, and we
Mhm.
all do, it's
Yeah.
management
Yeah,
of
of
thoughts.
course.
Then it's about questioning those thoughts. Why,
Mhm.
where did they come from? Who told me that? Why did I believe it?
Mhm.
And really digging into your brain to decide you're worth having a better self, and then
Yeah.
taking baby steps to get there.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So what are some of the more common things that you're presented with on a day-to-day basis, being, when a client comes to you, they're obviously looking to release something that's holding them back.
Yeah.
And from earlier in our conversation, you were saying that there were probably, experiences from their childhood, maybe a past traumatic experience of some kind, a past hurt in some way, maybe somebody's wronged you or hurt you and you're holding on to that baggage. So
Yeah.
what are some of the more common things that people come to you for?
Well, the interesting thing is that people come to me when they think they know what their problem is.
Mhm.
And I have not had an experience yet in all of my hundreds of clients where
Yeah.
the problem is what they thought it was. The problem is
Yeah.
never what the problem is.
That's really interesting that you say that, because I agree with you there. I do
Yeah.
think that a
Yeah.
lot of times what people say they want, there's actually something underneath that has to be fixed, for not fixed, that's probably not the right word, that has to be resolved first,
Yes.
and
Resolve
then you're able
it.
to move more forward, right?
Right. Because we get the
Yeah.
cognitive dissonance. Our
Mhm.
cognitive brain says, I want to be fit. But your
Mhm.
subconscious brain is saying, now this is just like some people, I
Right.
have to have this layer of fat to protect me because
Mhm.
I've been sexually abused in the past. So I don't want to be attractive.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
see what I'm saying? So you come in and you have what
Or
you
I could
think you
also
want.
see, not to interrupt you, I could also hear from somebody who is, maybe always struggled with their weight, or
Mhm.
maybe, to use your word, cognitively, they're saying, I really want to get in shape. Yeah, I would love to get in shape. Summer's coming. Let's do it. I'm going to do it this year. All of that language.
Yeah.
And then underneath that is the subconscious brain saying, wait a minute, you've
Yeah.
never been in shape in your life.
You
You've
can't.
never been the weight you want to be. I don't know what you're thinking. So you're kind of like it's kind of like you've got this little devil on your shoulder that's saying, yeah, whatever. I'm going to
Yeah.
be right here and remind you, right?
You're set up for failure.
Yeah.
So then
Yeah.
you've got this hamster wheel, this cycle.
Mhm.
This goes
Yeah.
over and over. I actually have a mini course that I'm going to give any listener that wants this to
Awesome.
get out of that hamster
Yeah.
wheel.
Great.
I have a manifestation mini course because we all manifest. It's not all that voodoo stuff.
Right.
It's our reality is what we've created.
Of
Now, how
course.
about we want
And
to
we
create?
decide what we want it to mean.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Or we can live on default and let our programs that aren't benefiting us anymore to continue.
Yeah.
But we
Yeah.
want to create the life we want to live.
Yeah.
And getting out of our own way is
Mhm.
going to get us there.
Yeah. So if somebody were to come to you, say and they were kind of, to use your word, on their own hamster wheel, they're saying, this is what I want, but no matter what I do, I can't seem to get there.
Mhm.
Or I tried once and I wasn't able to do it. So maybe it's just not meant to be, or something like that. And so you basically help them kind of write a new story, right?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. There are multiple different ways you can use hypnosis, and tidbit, all
Mhm.
hypnosis is self-hypnosis. So whether you're
Yeah.
writing a script or guided therapy on an audio, or you're going and doing age regression where you find that child and fix it, the bottom line is that you're going in and finding that faulty programming
Mhm. Yeah.
and flipping it to something that's more helpful. I don't even like to use the word good or bad, right or wrong. It's,
Yeah.
is this
Yeah.
helping me get where I want to be?
Yeah.
If not, let's change it.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally get that, because I think we have to resist putting labels on things and
Yes.
assigning moral values to things, because, their thoughts and feelings are always going to be there.
Yes.
And when we feel something in our bodies, it's because we're thinking something. So the thought's behind it. So it's correcting the thought first is what's going to help us produce the feeling that we want.
And that right there is so far ahead of what most people think.
Yeah,
There,
agree.
it really is. Your
Yeah.
thought is the stem, and that creates the emotion.
Yeah.
And then you act it out without even thinking.
Yeah. Well, that's obviously the goal. And
Yeah.
I know everybody probably has their own pace that they work with.
Mhm.
It's just very, very important, I guess. And the teacher in me just wants to like shout it from the housetops that this is like what you should practice on a daily basis.
Yeah.
But I know learning new habits is really difficult.
And sometimes even to start is believing that you're worth the change.
Yeah.
For me,
Yeah.
it blows my mind that somebody wouldn't want a tool to help them progress.
Mhm.
But you
Yeah.
should. I've got a headache. Okay, do you want to take some aspirin, CBD, or water? Nope, just going to keep this headache. And we do that so often in life.
I know we do.
We wear that badge of honor. I only had 4 hours of sleep a night.
Yeah, I worked 16 hours.
I
worked 16 hours yesterday.
Right. Like that's impressive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, unfortunately, I think our society dictates that to some degree.
That doesn't
now, granted, in every business, there's a season where you probably find yourself putting in more time.
For sure.
And for some businesses, there's probably more than one season where that's the case.
For sure.
But I do think that we get really good at what we do often. That's one of the things I love to say.
Yeah.
And I believe that because we're creatures of habit.
Right. And balance. If you have to burn the midnight oil, of course you can, but if you're doing it consistently, your body's going to pay for it. So you bring back into balance, homeostasis.
Yeah. So let's just break this down just real simply, because I always want my listeners to walk away with easy tips that they can just implement right away. If you had to pick, say, 3 things that people could start with, what would that be?
Okay. So I have what I would suggest for everybody to implement are what I call the 4 A's. Number 1, awareness. If you don't know you have a problem, you're not going to solve it. So awareness is key. Number 2, acceptance. Yes, this is what it is right now. And I don't like it. I want to change it, but you have to accept where it is. Then you can analyze it and see, where did this come from? Why do I want to change? Is it going to be beneficial? And only then can we move into the adjustment. And that works for yoga, weight training, and mental exercise as well.
Yeah. So it's basically like you're just walking yourself through these 4 steps is what you're saying.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
And sometimes other people help you get aware.
Oh, no. I agree with that. So let's say someone out there is listening and they're really thinking, okay, I think I get this. Sounds simple. I'm going to give this a try. And maybe the 4 A's is maybe just a little too much for them to absorb at once. Or maybe they're like, yeah, whatever. I don't know that that's going to work. Can you offer like just one easy tip that someone could walk away with?
Find within yourself the possibility. You don't have to do it, but find the possibility that I could love myself. I could be worth it. And that will help you move into everywhere else in life. First self-care is you have to believe you're worth the love. Yeah.
So how does somebody find the possibility though? Like, is there specific language that you would recommend or suggest, or I'm just curious what your opinion would be.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Language. So I could go on for hours and hours about language and how it affects our brain. If I love myself, one thing I have my clients do is look in the mirror, and every day in the morning and the evening, right before bed or right when you wake up, you're in those twilight hours, you're already in a hypnotic state. So that's when it's going to be more believable. You can even play music that will help move through the critical factor filter into digging into your subconscious mind. So you say 3 things. I see you. I see you. I love you. You are more than enough. And if I love you is too hard, if it feels like a lie, then you say, I'm learning to love you.
Okay. Okay.
Simple. And it
So
sounds
just,
childish and you'll probably laugh even, or maybe cry. It's hard to hold the gaze. If you
yeah.
can't hold the gaze in your
Hmm.
own eye, then you really need to do it. I see
Yeah.
you. I love you. You are more than enough.
So just obviously this is something people should practice then, is
Yes,
what you're
very
saying, right?
basic. But you
Yeah.
have to learn how to crawl before you can
Yeah.
run. So many people
Oh,
want
and
to jump.
before you walk, you have to crawl. You know,
Yes,
you crawl and then you walk and then you run, right? So
yes.
baby steps.
And they have found that babies that run or walk
Mhm.
before they get that crawling basic have a lot of cognitive issues. So you
Wow.
can't go jump on, decide you're going to do a triathlon
Mhm.
before you walk,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to start somewhere. So start with loving yourself and knowing that you're worth the investment in yourself
Mhm.
in any kind of self-care.
Mhm. Why do you think people struggle in general with, I mean, you and I could sit here and talk about this all day, but why do you think people really struggle with the idea of thinking that they're good enough and trusting that they can do it? Because what I have found across the board is that we can talk about it, we can think about it, but at the end of the day, I think human beings are inherently in a state where we doubt our abilities to be able to do something different and do something new and stick with it.
We do, and this is a huge long topic too. But if you trace your steps back to when you were a baby,
Mhm.
and everybody doted on you and loved you, although some people didn't, they were left alone. They were preemies, and so they didn't have that touch or the
Mhm.
soothing talk or the
Mhm.
mother. All kinds of reasons that
Mhm.
you're set up for failure from the very beginning. But
Mhm.
once you move out of toddler where everything's great, and then you go to school where
Mhm.
guess what, that purple tree and blue grass and the rainbows and in your own imagination
Yeah. Yeah.
get shut down. You've got siblings, you've got parents, you've
Yeah.
got teachers, you've got religion, you've got
Mhm.
politics, you've got everybody in the world
Mhm.
saying you can't be that way. You have to
Yeah.
conform to this way. You're
Yeah.
not good enough. And some
Yeah.
of the language is all spread across
Yeah.
the board, but the bottom line is you start looking around and you're like, oh, I'm not good enough the way I am
Mhm.
right now. I have to
Mhm.
conform, and conforming doesn't feel right. So then
Mhm.
we consistently reaffirm, I'm not good enough. I'm not worth it.
Yeah, and then we start looking for evidence around
Yeah.
us. You know, maybe
Yes.
we don't get the grades that we want, or we
Yep.
don't get into the school that we want, or we don't get the job we want, and that just reinforces,
Yeah.
right?
You'll
Yeah,
find what you're looking for. And
which is all the more reason why really dialing into a practice in
yes,
your self-care routine daily that incorporates some of what you're talking about, I can see would be really critical and helpful.
absolutely. Because
Yeah.
there's a flip side. If
Yeah.
you believe or want to believe you're worth it, and you say to yourself every morning, every night, I
Mhm.
see you're more than enough, then you're going to find evidence every day in every way that
Yeah.
you are worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. You
The
just
angels on your
it
shoulder too.
yeah, it just has to start, you
Yes,
know, in the mind, right?
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, this has really been fun and quite informative, I might add. I always love diving into another aspect of mindset with a guest. I'm really glad we were able to connect.
Oh,
Where can people find you?
well, if you're wanting to take baby steps and start something for free, go to my YouTube channel. Just search on YouTube Ruthie Renae, and you'll find me. And you can get a lot of basic videos, educational, and also some guided hypnosis
Mhm.
meditations. Quantumfieldtrips.com is my website. So you can hook up with me one on one or do one of my programs. And I'm on Facebook as well, Quantum Field Trips.
Okay. And then you have a gift for everybody, right?
Oh, yes, thank you. If you want my free mini course,
Mhm.
then email me at ruthierenee@gmail.com and just say, I want Alison's freebie or free mini course, please. And
Okay.
I'll get right back to you.
Awesome. Wow, that sounds terrific. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Sounds like lots of value. Thank you for making time today. I'm glad we were able to figure this out.
Absolutely. I'm so
Yeah,
glad you had me, and I just love what you're putting into the world. It takes
thank
a big
you.
village.
Thank you. It does take a village and it takes having amazing guests to help with that too. So
Awesome.
Yeah. So if anyone out there is interested and wants to connect with Ruthie Renae, please do that. Please take advantage of her free gift. Head over to her website. You'll find all of that information in the show notes below. You can connect with her, just about anywhere on that. You can check out what she's doing. You can drop her a note, or you can follow her in social media. And again, you can find all those links in the show notes. So I just want to say before I sign off how incredibly thankful I am for all of your support of my show. We're going into year number 3 starting this summer. It's really hard to believe.
Wow.
I totally remember when I started out doing this podcast thing, I had no idea how it was going to go. All I knew was that I had an idea and a desire that I needed to be out in the world talking about these types of things, because self-care means so many different things to different people. And I think it's really important that we continue to highlight what those differences are and really help empower people to make the best decision they can for them. That's really the reason, one of my whys and why I do what I do every single day. And we reach more and more people every week, and we're heard all around the world. And I know I couldn't do it without you. So just know how grateful I am from the bottom of my heart. And we're going to keep going. So this is Alison Katzkowski with The Ultimate Journey of Self-Care. You are one step closer to living your ultimate life. So make it a good one.